Hey everyone, this is DeFi Talks with DeFi Dad. Hey, thanks for joining us. It's Friday, May 27th, 2022. Today, I'm hoping will be a nice break from staring at crypto prices for everyone. I'm joined by the co-founder and CEO of Petaverse, Susan Cummings. Susan and I are going to talk all about this next generation of digital pets that they're building. And I'll let Susan kind of tell her story, but she's had a long and successful career in building all sorts of fantastic, exciting, and just fun games to play. But recently, she made the pivot to wanting to build a Web3 based game. And so I've been privileged to get to know Susan because of the fact that my team at 4RC invested in Petaverse. And I'm just excited because this is a game that is, it's designed for you to just have fun and be able to engage with AR based pets that happen to be unique and digitally transferable as NFTs. So anyways, Susan, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Cool. And I always have to disclose that up front, just because as we talk about this, of course, none of this is financial advice. This isn't a recommendation or endorsement to buy any tokens in the future or any sort of NFTs. But obviously that is a part of what you're building, is that like these pets, whether it's a cat or maybe a dog in the future, these are going to be NFTs, and that gives us lots of new benefits. So anyways, Susan, do you want to talk a bit though first about your background, and then I'd love to then talk a bit more about what prompted you to build Petaverse?
Absolutely. I am an old timer of video games. I'm turning 50 this year. It's horrifying. But I've been in video games now literally half my life, alongside my partners, my husband. We've been together as long as we've worked together. And I, go back to the earliest console days. We met during .com one days in San Francisco when like pets.com was all the rage, and Craigslist. And I've had a long history in video games. Probably the biggest part of that was at Take-Two, where Lee, my partner, was a producer on the Grand Theft Auto series. And I started 2K Games and 2K Sports with the head of Take-Two at the time, signed things like Bioshock and Borderlands in the original IP console stuff. And so we've been making video games together for a very long time. And then we got excited about augmented reality sort of 4 years ago when we won a big government grant in the UK. And we got to work with a team at Aardman on Wallace and Gromit, which was a high point of my career, getting to work with the creative team there, and learning all about AR and working closely with Unity and Apple and others on what's possible, even just on a mobile phone right now, which I think people are just shocked at how cool AR is, how magical it is when it's done well. And so that's really brought us to where we are today. Tiny Rebel Games has been around for a very long time now, actually, first as an American company. But yeah, we raised a big round of funding from 26, 27 investors, mostly all in Web3, back in January. And we are in build, sort of mode now.
What Susan ultimately prompted you to want to like make this move? Because this is still a radical change for anyone who's already had that success building the legacy gaming industry. I think obviously years from now, like I'm hoping colleagues will look back and say, wow, like that was a brave move you made, and look how it's paid off. So anyways, yeah, what was what moved the needle for you to say like, hey, this is where I want to build next. This is the future of gaming.
Yeah, we've always loved to be on the bleeding edge of technology. We got involved in free to play when it was early. We got involved in AR early. We've been excited about blockchain, in particular Ethereum, Ethereum related products for a few years now, and never really saw it as part of our business. We never really had put two and two together on that. Games, AR, those were things we knew how to do. And last year, at the start of the year, we started to think about, well, look, we know all these cool things are possible in AR with an iPhone, for example, and LiDAR. You could do some truly magical stuff in terms of having something occlude off behind a wall or jump up on a table, and etc. And we wanted to do that, but we also knew that its consumer adoption of AR wasn't there yet. Until we have glasses, it won't really be there. So we started to think about how could we think about this differently so that we wouldn't have to put all our eggs in one basket. And I said to my partner, how can we take that same pet and bring it into VR, on your smartwatch, or into a web app, and really anywhere you wanted to go? To which he said, well, we could use blockchain for that. And there's this hot topic within video games about whether it's a pipe dream that you can bring stuff between worlds. And the common example is that it would be stupid to take a costume from Tomb Raider and bring it into Call of Duty. Well, obviously that is stupid if you think about the visual aesthetic of those two things. But what we said is, what if you think about it differently and you think about things as data? And if you take a pet and instead of saying this is exactly what it looks like, you create a list of metadata that's reinterpretable to match different art styles and aesthetics, and you take a cross-chain approach to different blockchains, then it becomes definitively possible. And that's what excited us. It wasn't the play to earn. It wasn't, it wasn't all the buzzwords of the moment that have been getting all the attention. What we said last year was, hey, there's more to it than that. This could fundamentally change how we think about our stuff. And that it didn't need to be a rental market, as Robbie at Animoca has said this very eloquently, that we've been renting our stuff for years. Imagine if we could own it. And that's what got us excited. The idea that I could buy it, an NFT pet, and love it and nurture it. And unlike Nintendogs, which is gone, no one's using their DS anymore, it could still be mine 30 years from now. And I could still be doing things with it. And that's what really captivated us. And everything we're doing is about that.
Yeah, I think one part of the story with Petaverse that was initially interesting to me was what you just mentioned about being able to go to different blockchain-based platforms with your pet. So whether you're in Sandbox or Somnium or Decentraland, there's this idea, of course, that if you own something that is, digitally native, that is truly unique and it's yours, just like in the physical world, you should be able to just pick it up with you and go, wherever
100%.
it is that you go. But what's really cool about Petaverse, and I think what had me most excited, is that there is an emotional attachment, of course, between pet owners and their pets. I have a dog and a cat, a physical dog and a cat at home. And I remember learning about CryptoKitties and being really excited about it, just because it was such a radical, new thing when it was created. But at the end of the day, there was only so much you could do. And these were 2D sorts of pets, and it wasn't something I could engage with. Now, fast forward just a few years, and we've got augmented reality, which is really becoming almost like a default component of so many new games. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, we've got pets then, which you're used to engaging with, you're used to having an emotional attachment with, because you engage with, because you pet them or you watch them play. And so it feels like we've come to a point where there's this sort of perfect concoction of all the ingredients you need. And so that's why having a digital pet to me now makes sense. There will be people who otherwise couldn't maybe afford or just manage a pet in the physical world. And I truly believe what you're building will have an emotional attachment for some. And that will transcend all of the, I think, bubble-like behavior that we're used to seeing in the crypto space.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, I really do think this disrupts how we think about pet ownership in the future. People with allergies, people with small houses, people who just don't want the responsibility of a pet. When we get to true AR glasses, it's going to start to blur the line between what's a real pet and what's a digital pet. And it's like his Dark Materials daemons. My cat runs around with someone else's dog and someone else's hamster and someone else's dragon, and it becomes it's just a part of our world, and an integral part of our world, our companion.
I'm thinking we should maybe show off one of the cats in AR here, and because I've got lots of other follow-up questions for you, but I always find myself wanting to show people versus continue to to frame it up here. So anyways, I'll show your screen.
Yeah,
And
this was at NFT Amsterdam last month. I was trying to show somebody just how cool lidar on the iPhone has gotten and how quickly it picks up the surroundings. So I didn't even have to pre-scan the room to do this, but this is Nedge, our hero cat, just checking out the surroundings and following a butterfly. And you can see that it instantly picks up where the table is and occludes, but you'll watch it occlude behind the chair in a moment. And it's just a little glimpse of how magical this is and how they start to become, part of our lives. And I don't think people realize how much is possible right now in AR.
That's been the lesson for me as well. As I have, I wasn't aware of just how far AR had come. Like, I'd played with like Pokemon Go and a few other games, but like, I mean, we're at a point again where you're not just enabling all this engagement through AR, but like there's some really intelligent interaction there that you can have with what will be these, like a Petaverse digital cat or
Yeah, that's an
dog.
important point. Yeah, I mean, it's not just what they look like. So we've built a tool, our pet creation tool within Unity, and that's where these pets are all born, right? And we can create a near infinite combination of one of ones of cats, right? And but they're not just what they look like, they're also how they behave. So we define,
Right.
whether they're agile or clumsy, for example, and that impacts how they behave within all of the experiences which support Petaverse, not just ours. And even their D&D affinity is described in there, and their elemental alignment, whether they're aligned with fire or ice, for example, is defined in there. And all of this information becomes a sort of treasure trove, like going back to your CryptoKitties example, which is really the perfect example. I mean, Kittyverse from CryptoKitties is like the grandfather of this project. I mean, granted, it was only a couple of years ago, but to your point, there was only so much you could do with a 2D image. What we're saying to everybody is, look, we're doing this as an interoperable open standard and inviting everyone to have the same toys we do. So that means that you can have our full pet stack. You can have the model, the rig, the animations, sample Unity scenes, and AI systems, literally everything we have, and invite our pet owners into your world and make games and experiences for them really rapidly and readily, if you know how to use Unity. And so that becomes, what the Kittyverse could be, and I think really really interesting, fundamentally.
Susan, can you walk us through at a high level, like, I'm not sure how much you can share at this point just because it's still early, but what will I need to do as someone who like wants to own one of these pets in the future? Like, how will I get one? Do I have to go through like some sort of breeding or immaculate conception on the blockchain? Basically, like, what can you share in terms of getting started?
Yeah, the Genesis drop is coming this summer, and it'll be blind boxed, and every cat that we create is 0 0, and so that when we introduce breeding in the future, not unlike CryptoKitties, the progeny of two of these cats will be 0 1, and so we will definitively be introducing breeding systems in the future. We just announced that we're going first on Polygon as our sort of launch chain, but we intend to also support Flow and Solana and IMX and Ethereum in the future, in the near future. The idea being that we want you to be able to use your pet anywhere you want to go, and at the same time. So we have plans for some pretty radical ways of thinking about things, so that you can actually use your pet across multiple blockchains at the same time, and have it still impact the same sort of soul of the pet.
It's wild. It's wild. What I'm curious, what sort of lessons have you learned over the last, let's say, like 6 to 12 months, just watching all the other applications and games play out in the NFT, GameFi, Web3 space? Like, and not that we want to like, I don't mean to like call out anything like negatively about other teams in particular, but yeah, I mean, we were talking before we got on here about the fact that like play to earn has been, important in terms of getting the word out about Web3 based gaming. But at the same time, there's the downside of that, where we've seen tokens sell off, and we've seen communities get angry, of course, about NFTs or token prices going down. So yeah, I'm just curious, as someone who's, you're here to create a great game, how do you sort of balance some of the pressures, I think, of like building with NFTs and tokens, while also just trying to create a game that people love?
Yeah, I think the problem is that it's early, right? And I think that there's been some ill-spent energy trying to make hardcore games in
Right.
blockchain, which I don't think anyone's ready for yet. I don't think hardcore gamers are ready for this yet. And I think that, while I'm not saying it's impossible to make something for a hardcore gamer, I just don't think there's enough there to interest anybody yet. And that's why it feels kind of scammy. If you look at the early days of free to play, no one started with Call of Duty. You started with Candy Crush and Farmville and stuff like that, and introduced sort of free to play mechanics and currencies and things, and people got used to that and got used to things being free. And then you got to midcore, you got to hardcore, and I think that this is the same. And so I feel like we're kind of, in my mind, we're going down a sensible path and saying it's not about that yet. This is about virtual pets. We're not making Call of Duty. So I think that that's really important. And I think that hardcore games take time, and we're going to have to be patient about content getting to the point that it's interesting to hardcore gamers. And then the play to earn mechanics start to make sense. Right now, it's play to earn first. And it's about the DeFi first. It's not about the game itself. And that's just fundamentally at odds of what makes a good game for a hardcore gamer. So that's super important. I think that there is, maybe especially because of the bear market now, I think that there's a lot of focus on doxing and understanding who these people are on the projects. There are troubling amount of projects where you go to the website and it's just a PFP and one name. I think the kind of money we're talking about, we're getting to the point that if you're going to trust a game to be there in the long run, you want to know who's making it. And I think people are going to expect, LinkedIn links and stuff like that to find out who people are. And maybe it shouldn't have to be, but the problem is people have scammed, and now people are wary. And if you look at what happened with game funding, where people were starting to kickstart and stuff, there were a lot of scams on Kickstarter and projects that raised tons and tons of money, and then nothing happened. And I think that there's a real danger in Web3 of it going the same way. When we set out to raise funding last year, we had people saying that we should just launch 2D versions of our cats and just expose a roadmap for the following year. And but we're a game company, and we've got a reputation on the line, and we weren't willing to do that. And so for us, we've always said we weren't going to launch until we were ready to actually give you something to do with your pet beyond the PFP, and you'll have the PFP as well. But and so that's why when we launch this Genesis drop, you will immediately have at least one app that you can use the pet in. We're hoping for actually more of that by the time we launch. And that's just really important to us. And I think so. That's one of the things we've learned is I think people care about that. They care about the fact that we're real, we're legitimate, we have real investors, and we've been making games for decades. And I hope that makes us one of the projects that people feel like they can at least trust us that we're actually doing something legitimate here for the right reasons.
What do you think the legacy gaming industry, what do you think they understand least about this new sort of GameFi space? Or maybe like, where is there like a disconnect that maybe you can help to bridge in the future?
I think that what I've seen from game developers who are starting to think that they want to explore this, partly I think I'm concerned that there are people looking at it just because investors have been telling them to look at it. And that's never the right reason to look at anything. And I think it's really, really hard tech to understand. It's really hard to understand, just basics of blockchain and smart contracts and so forth, and then to understand what a layer one is, what a layer two is, why it matters if it's on Ethereum, and all this stuff is just super complex for a game developer to understand, and how smart contracts work, and why it would matter to make your own smart contract, and what about middleware solutions, and which middleware solutions, and what's stored on chain, what's stored off chain, where how we think about all of this stuff is just super complicated. And as we've seen, horrible things happen when bad smart contracts are made. So even that is hard. And so I think that that's the biggest learning curve for a game developer, is it's a completely new area to understand. Now, I do think it's easier for a game developer to learn that than it is for a Web3 developer to learn how to make games. So I think that it's doable. We've learned a hell of a lot, and we still have so much to learn. But I mean, just compared to where we were back in, I don't know, when you and I first met back in October to now,
Yeah.
I feel like I've just gone through a university degree in 6 months on Web3, and that's allowed us to really start to poke at the edges and really start to figure out where it's going next. And that's what I'd like to see more game developers do: is bring their art to the table, and then really dig in on Web3 and say, like, where is this all going? Not just how do we put NFT hats on our stuff, but how do we think about interoperability and the more interesting, meaty topics?
If I sort of reverse that question and talk more about what do let's say a new native GameFi developers understand the least about the legacy gaming industry, because of the fact that if you look at Web 2 allowed us to go from like looking at like a very curated internet to actually being able to engage with each other, whether it was like through blogs or social media. And I think similarly with Web3 based gaming, it's going to allow that many more to potentially create a game and use the different sorts of DeFi tools that are available to either raise money or create a community around like a token that might bootstrap their efforts. That being said, too, I also would acknowledge that it will create a lot of shit games, and there will be, an astronomical number of failures in this. So, going back to the original question, then, what do you think those that are new game developers that are looking to build with Web3 based games, what do you think they understand the least about the legacy gaming industry? What can they benefit from learning more about? By looking back on the lessons that you and others have learned from?
Yeah. I think understanding core gameplay mechanics and what makes something, sort of sticky and addictive, why you want to keep coming back and playing more. And that takes a lot of work to get to and to nail. And it has to come before the Web3 part of it, And so I think that's the most complex area for me.
Yeah,
sure.
I think there's been a clear what I want to say. There's clearly been a like coming to Jesus moment for a lot of folks building in this space, realizing, hey, good tokenomics aren't going to enable me to build a great game. Like you can have a really crappy game with decent tokenomics. Same thing actually has always been true with DeFi applications. Like you can have a great DeFi application with really sticky product market fit that has really crappy tokenomics. You can also have really great tokenomics that make something look more appealing and more interesting, but in the end, like users just don't really need it, and so those applications tend to die off.
And I think that games just take time to make. That's the biggest thing. Like MMOs for these big open world projects that everyone wants to do. Web3, those are big, expensive projects. World of Warcraft, EverQuest, all of this stuff back. Those took years to make and to get right and to nurture and to build out an interesting world. I'm sure you saw the Yuga thing, right? That video of the Bored Ape running around.
Yeah,
I didn't see any gameplay. It's really pretty, but it was just an ape running around in the water. And game industry folks are pretty quick to pipe in and say that doesn't take very long to knock together. I would have seen more than that. I would have rather see less pretty and more gameplay. Like the way games typically are made is you start with white boxing, and just showing off mechanics and stuff and showing that it's fun. A fun game should be fun without any art. Bunch of boxes, can be fun. And so this was like, the opposite of that. This was like super pretty, but there was no gameplay. And as for game developers, that's frustrating when we see that.
Yeah, I think having also been somewhat critical, I think of some of the overhyping that has happened in the GameFi space. One of the positives, though, that I've taken away from it is, so DeFi, crypto in general, has normally been about allowing you to just have the freedom to do what you want when you want with your money. And when I've looked at those sorts of reactions to these like really simple demos or examples of gameplay, I'm like, see, this is the opportunity. If you build a new Web3 based game and you do learn how to leverage some of the really like basic tools that allow you to bootstrap liquidity, create interest, get users on board who can permissionlessly, connect to the game just through like a Web3 wallet like MetaMask, you start to quickly learn that the fact that money can freely flow, it can allow you to potentially, again, bootstrap more funds to allow you to continue to develop that game. But again, the dark side of this is, and I think no one, especially among investors, has been shying away from this lately. There's just going to be lots and lots of games that are developed in the coming years. 99% of them probably are going to be shit and fail, but it's a new space. And I think like we benefit from being able to lean on your expertise and all the other brilliant folks I've gotten to meet who are, taking a career that has spanned the legacy gaming industry and bringing all of that expertise to whatever this is, GameFi, Web3 based.
You guys are being smart about that, and that's something I've been saying a lot. I was on the panel a few days ago, a game industry event, saying the same thing, that like Web3 investors and game investors need to come together on this if it's going to work, because the game investors, there's a lot they don't know about Web3 and vice versa. And so what a great opportunity in these ridiculously big party syndicate rounds that everyone's doing to bring both together.
Absolutely. Yeah. If anybody watches this, you can reach out to me at Fourth Revolution Capital. We'd love to talk to you. Yeah, there's a need for again, sort of valuing that expertise. I think that's been one thing over the last several years that I've been sort of frustrated with is, for some reason it feels like the world has devalued experience, and like we've sort of moved past like the fact that you can't just do something because you set your mind to it. It really does matter that you practice and you fail and you learn from those lessons. And this is an exciting.
Why we brought in the investors that we did. We knew how to make video games, and if there's a reason why almost none of our investors this round were from the game industry, they were from Web3, and that's what we needed. And that's the reason that we've learned so much so quickly in the last 6 months is partially a testament to the quality of investors that we brought in.
Absolutely. I'll leave you with one last question, because I hear this a lot from other founders that are just getting started in Web3 based gaming. What are some of the hardest decisions you've had to make in terms of jumpstarting Petaverse? One of those I wanted to let you sort of talk about is choosing a blockchain to get started on. That's definitely a lengthy conversation that we had in terms of what would support you as of, it's been like since January through May of 2022. But how did you guys decide to, start building on Polygon? And then I guess like what other sorts of lessons have you learned along the way?
That was a very big one. Yeah, we've learned a lot of lessons. But last year we started talking to all the usual suspects on the blockchain side, and most of them are offering token grants and dev grants and stuff. And I will say that is not the reason to pick a blockchain. And in my mind, it's the first red flag I hear from a developer when they say such and such threw us tokens or cash to support them. It's like, well, up until a few weeks ago, there was plenty of cash out there. You don't need cash in the blockchain. Maybe that's going to change now. But for us, it was a number of different things. And it kind of loops into the other learning, which is, I think all game developers who are getting into Web3 are primarily motivated and excited by a mass market, right? Because most NFT economy right now is like 10,000 people, right? And there's no escaping that. But that for a video game, that would be a very small install base. And so we're all like, how do you get to millions? How do you get to the 25 million people who bought Nintendogs? The problem is 25 million people aren't buying NFTs right now. And so I think our biggest learning, and I've sort of talked to other developers who are doing launches this year, I think we're all learning, is that we have to be aware of who the market is right now and make sure that we're not alienating what people care about in terms of their NFT purchases. What makes it exciting? What makes it the thing that is your Twitter profile and stuff? And why are you so excited about that? What motivates you? And build towards a broader market, as opposed to thinking we can just go for mass market now and convince millions and millions of people they should suddenly buy into Web3. And Polygon, going back to the Polygon question, I think that it's a great choice. Layer 1 Ethereum would be awesome too, but in terms of gas prices and stuff, it just wasn't viable yet. So and I think that the Polygon team really is gets and is excited and supportive about what we're doing, and and understands the long-term value to their ecosystem of being able to bring these pets between other games and experiences that support Polygon. We love the team at Dapper, and Flow. And I think that as we move towards the mass market, Flow is going to be so critically important to that, to people thinking about not understanding they're purchasing an NFT anymore, using a custodial wallet and Shopify and fiat purchases and stuff. That's where we have to get to. Like, it's so hard. Like the process of buying an NFT via MetaMask is so freaking hard. And I think that it's a badge of honor for everyone right now. But if we're ever going to get to those sorts of numbers, it has to just be invisible like a credit card purchase. And so, we plan to support Flow, we plan to support IMX, we plan to support Solana. So we're going to be loads and loads of places. And I think that part of that is really important because who knows, like 10 years from now, where everyone's going to be on, in terms of blockchains. Maybe there'll just be one by then that everyone's using. And we need to stay agile for that. And the way we're architecting this doesn't really matter to us. We can go on any blockchain.
Yeah, there's definitely been this hurdle, which is getting a wallet set up, and I agree that there's just a huge opportunity there.
And funding it, there are banks that won't let you transfer money in. Like there's just so much hard about it.
That's right. Yeah. Oh gosh, I had Chase Bank many years ago. They canceled my bank account because I bought some crypto through Coinbase, and I actually never got an answer because I think I was probably such a teeny tiny little customer that didn't matter for them. But yeah, no, just getting a wallet started, funding it creates an opportunity for someone to solve for that. And I can attest, like we're seeing all sorts of interesting solutions that are being developed, both non-custodial and custodial wallets, and actually in some cases, wallets that are specifically designed for crypto-based gaming, which I think also has us all talking about like, well, we do need custodial and non-custodial solutions because not everybody wants or needs their wallet to be non-custodial. Some people don't want to have that burden of being 100% in control, and that's fine. Like we need to I think respect what people's preferences are.
What about kids? Where it comes to virtual pets, if my son wants to buy a pet, I want to have some control over that. And
That's right.
not have it be treated as an NFT, not have him speculating with it and things like that. And so I think where it comes to the mass market, it's really important. It's not the market now, So I think it's
yeah. No, as a parent, I'm like, I like the freedom I have as an adult, but my children will have no freedom until they are 18
I saw an
years old.
elementary school send home like a flyer about NFTs. Someone posted this on LinkedIn explaining NFTs to parents. I was like, wow, that's wild.
That's cool. Was it like just a general sort of explainer on it?
What you should know about NFTs, and it was explaining what they were, and
Interesting.
I
would love to get a hold of that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Really cool.
Well, Susan, anything else you think folks should know about Petaverse? Like any upcoming like deadlines or major dates that they should be bookmarking?
Wow, I mean, the Petaverse.network is our website, and that has links to get to like our Discord server, Twitter, and everything. We are doing whitelisting right now, especially by our Discord server, and we will be doing our Genesis drop by the end of the summer. We haven't announced the date yet, but we'll be announcing a date, I hope, soon.
Awesome. Well, yeah, no, I would advise anyone check out Petaverse at petaverse.network, and then you can hop in the Discord there. You can follow Petaverse and Susan on Twitter for updates, and I'll be clearly trying to amplify those updates as well. Susan can attest to this. Like first meeting, I was like, I'm in. This is like the coolest idea. Again, like having like lived through the rise of CryptoKitties and always have had like a reverence for what they did. And I think what it meant to like the industry, getting people interested in NFTs. This to me is like that next step to like, this is something like I actually want. Like, I think it would be really fun to have a digital pet. And I really do like know, friends and families who, they just can't manage even having like a physical dog, cat, whatever at home. And I think this is going to be one of those applications that actually like onboards totally new users. Like the idea here is you don't need to like be a crypto native savvy investor to be able to use this. It's just meant to be a game where you play and you've got this fun pet and you can play with it and, show people on your phone that it's purring next to you and doing all sorts of cool stuff. So.
Yeah, look, I've got a sister-in-law who doesn't play games at all. And when we explained what we're doing, she got it immediately, completely understood what we're doing. And that, look, and there's a reason why, like, anytime you see like an AR headset or AR demos, there's always virtual pet examples because people get it. It's like, oh, now I get it. It's like the pet's here and it's jumping up onto surfaces and doing all the stuff. I get it. It's like a real pet, but it's digital.
So cool. Yeah, absolutely. So like, and again, once you see that demo, it's like, whoa, like this thing is intelligent. Like it's weaving in between chairs and, it's reacting to, the way that you interact with it or pet it or move around it. So anyways, well, yeah, if anyone's interested to learn more about that, go to petaverse.network. Also, if you enjoyed this interview, you can subscribe at DeFiDad.com. And most importantly, if you are building a really cool NFT-based application, protocol, game, or DeFi application, please reach out to me and my team at fourthrevolution.capital. Susan, thanks for your time. This was a total privilege, per usual, to get to talk with you.
Oh, thank you. Same.
All right, I'm going to end the broadcast right here, and just everyone have a great weekend. I'll be back next week with hopefully some new interviews. But thanks for your time, Susan, and everybody stay safe. Have a happy Memorial Day weekend. Bye.